Welcome everyone to the realistic landscape section of the course. I'm going to have to ask you to bear with me for this one because it's going to be complicated, but the results are going to be pretty cool if you stick with it. When you open up their software for the first time, you'll be taken to an example project like this. Now, World Machine is node-based. They have all these nodes that contain advanced algorithms that generate landscapes for you. You can preview the landscape in the top left here, or if you want a better preview, you can click on the 3D view up here. Now, by default, the basic version only lets you do a certain resolution, and it's not a very large resolution. But if you do want to preview it at the max resolution that you can export with the basic version, press this green button right here and it'll start to build it. And you can see that it's going through each of these nodes and building them one at a time. And here we have it. Now this obviously is pretty low resolution, and it might not be ideal for what we're going for. But first, let's take a closer look at some of the nodes. Go to this tab right here to go into the device view, and here you can see all the different nodes. First, we have an advanced purlin, which is kind of like a noise modifier, except it's very complex and is meant to create mountainous terrains like these. And then we have the curves node, and it's really just best to visualize this by showing what it would look like without the curves node. All right. Now, I'll reconnect the curves node, and this is what we have. It makes the whole thing a little more curvy and smooth. The next one is erosion, and this applies thousands of years of erosion to the landscape. This low of a resolution probably won't look good in Unreal, so we're going to have to do something a little drastic. Go up here to this tab, World Commands, and go to Project World Parameters. We're going to have to set a custom resolution that can actually work with Unreal, because 513 by 513 will not by default. So we're going to have to change it to 505 first. And then you're going to have to go and set all of these parameters to 505 meters. And once you have that, you're going to have to click OK. And then you're going to have to find your landscape. Now, it may not look like much right now. When you bring it into an engine, it actually seems much, much, much larger. If you don't like what you got, you can click this randomize button. When you find something that you like, we're going to start exporting it to a folder. Go back into your device view, and here we're going to have to do a few things. First thing we're going to do is export a height map of this so that Unreal can read it and turn it into a landscape. The default project already has a height output set up, so just double click on it, and then you're going to press this set button and navigate to the folder where you'd like to put your textures. I'm going to call this one height, save, and make sure that you have raw 16 selected as a format. Uncheck these two boxes and check the one that says save the file every time the world machine is built. Then go ahead and click OK. Next, go up to the flow control nodes and choose checkpoint. Just click on it and then click in the scene to add a checkpoint node. Click on it again to confirm. Now take this top socket from the erosion node and drag it into the top one from the checkpoint node. You can edit the nodes themselves by double clicking on them. I'm going to change the number of ports down to 1 just for organization. Now what we're going to do now is separate out layers of this terrain so that we can tell Unreal to make certain parts of it rock, certain parts of it grass, and certain parts dirt. You can do more layers if you want for snow or other things, but for now those are the ones that I'm going to be sticking with. Go into the selector nodes and choose a select slope. Click on it and then click in the scene to add it. Click on it again to confirm. Drag the end socket from the checkpoint into the select slope. Now double click on the select slope. If you're having trouble seeing anything in this viewport, check this box that says 3D and it'll change it to 2D so that you can see what's going on. What we're going to try to do is get these rock faces here to actually turn into rock and not just be green grass like they were before. So now that you have the 2D view here, check and see by clicking on the height output and then clicking on the slope to see if those are the faces that should actually be rock. If they're not, then we're going to have to adjust the slope selector using these tools right here. This slider is a maximum. So right now it's saying that anything that is a maximum of 67 degrees and a minimum of 0 degrees will be turned into rock. So clearly we don't want all of the plains area, the field area, to turn into rock. We just want the rock part. So logically, just think like, okay, a maximum of 90 degrees, which would be the tallest possible angle, and then a minimum of however many degrees you see necessary. And so that's just going to take a little bit of tweaking. And to be honest, that looks just about right. Now I'm going to pick up another select slope node and drop it in right next to the checkpoint. Click to confirm, and then drag the output socket into the input socket. So what I want you to do with these two, for the rock and for the grass, is to make sure that these degree numbers line up perfectly. So right now my maximum for rock is 90 degrees and my minimum is 41. And for the grass, the maximum is 41 and the minimum is 0. So there's no degree range left out. But also I'm going to take my selection fall off, and for my rock I turned it down to 4 degrees. And for my grass I turned it down to 0 degrees, and I have the fall off type at exponential for both of those. And the reason for that is so the rock will actually just kind of blend into the grass right at the edge of where it will appear. I don't really want any more materials in my terrain, but if you do, then you're going to want to duplicate this process and then select with these select slopes the range of slope that you want that material to occupy. And remember, if it doesn't work out perfectly, you can always just paint the materials on in the landscape editor in Unreal. But now it's time to get these things going, so I'm going to go to output, click on height output, and I'm going to drop in 3 of these. The rock will go into the first one, the grass will go into the second one, and then you're going to take the second output from the erosion node, it's called the flow mask, and you're going to drag that into the third output. So for each of these, you're going to go and set them to raw file format, and you're going to uncheck this box and check the save file every time the world is built. Then you're going to press set, and you're going to find folder that you had your other textures in, and then you're going to name them appropriately. So for the rock one, I'll call it rock.raw. Okay, and then for this one, I will set it to raw, grass.raw. Uncheck this, make sure to check that, that's important. And then for this one, set everything up. And then I'm going to call this one flow.raw. That is important as well, make sure you get that. And now that we have all of these set up, all we have to do is go into the 3D view, or not, I just like to do things in the 3D view, and then press build. And now what it's done, since we checked the boxes on all of those, is since we built it, it exported all of the files for us. Now that you've done that, you're ready to move on to the next lecture, where we will take this into Unreal.